All right. We should be live. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We are officially live here. Moneyline MMA coming to you guys to bring UFC 304 to life this Saturday, the 27th, 5 p.m. Central Time. The prelims will begin on the card in which will be taking place in Manchester, England. Keep in mind, this is a start time for the U.S. Watchers, as this is, like I said, this is in England. I believe the main card starts around 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. local time. This is a tough one for the boys. Aspinall, Edwards, Bilal Muhammad, Curtis Blades. These dudes are having to get out there and fight 2, 3, 4 in the morning. It's a tough one, but I'm sure they've been training and completely changing up their sleep schedules just according to those times. And it's just like another credit to these guys coming out here, and I guess they're doing it because they're getting paid pretty handsomely, but at the same time, they're putting a lot on the line to entertain us for what will be our Saturday night, and overseas it'll be their Saturday/Sunday morning. Wouldn't be fun to attend that. I'm curious what the prices are, to be honest. Like, would you really pay premium dollar to go to a pay-per-view event at 4 in the morning? Oof, I'm not sure I would, man. I'm really not sure I would. Curious, Jose, what do you think?
It depends. If they barely come to my place, maybe. It depends how big of a fan you are too, because I bet those fans are going to be rowdy that early in the AM. They're probably going to be drunk, which would be
True.
a different experience too. Tough, but a different experience for sure.
Dude, you honestly bring up a good point that I don't give them credit. Like, this is in England. They don't get many UFC fights out there. Like, you and I could just fly over to Vegas and pretty much any weekend of the year get a fight card, or at least like over half the weekends of the year get a fight card there. Whereas these people would have to fly like across the world, or they get like one of these rare opportunities. So if you're enough of a fan, and this is like one of the 1 or 2 times you're only going to get the chance to see some UFC fights in your hometown, man, you're going to do it. And you'll screw up your Sunday sleep schedule. Just figure it out later on while you have a good time watching the fights. But before we get too deep into the picks here for UFC 304, let's cover what we've been dominating on as of late, because Jose and I hit another 5-weight hammer last week, with both of us actually picking Steve Garcia. We independently make our picks here, and then we let each other know what our weights are right before recording, just so we know the order that we're going to discuss. But outside of that, we both take Steve Garcia as our 5 weights, and he finishes Seung Choi in the first round. That was an exciting fight, and I remember specifically saying in the show last week it would be by KO. So if you're riding with me specifically on my 5 weights, the last 10 cards are 10-0. My 5 weights are in a 10-0 streak. Simple as that. All you got to do is tune in, check out my 5-weight pick of the afternoon, and you can tune out. And at that point, you have 10-0 in terms of the last 10 fight cards. Outside of that, Jose and I had a disagreeing 4-weight on the co-main event too, which is crazy. Not only was it on the same fight, but we disagreed, and it was both our 4-weights, but the fight gets canceled. And look, I'm just going to say, Jose, I'll take the little dub on it, because it wasn't my fighter that got kicked out. It wasn't Tavares. No. They did a medical denial on Jun Young Park after cutting weight. He maybe had too many issues losing that water, and they said, nope, you can't fight tomorrow, my friend. And look, I'll just take the silent dub, because my guy was still ready to go. But in the end, I'm just giving him crap, because that's a no contest there. That did not happen. Other than that, it was a good fight card for Jose and I. Bill Algeo was next in line. Jose's 3-weight. My 1-weight unfortunately took the loss. Doo Ho Choi KOs him in the second round. So glad I kept him down at my 1-weight level. But in any case, for me, I also liked Bruno Silva, and boy, did he show out. Bruno Silva was my 3-weight last week, and he finished Cody Durden. In fact, there were a lot of finishes too. That's the other comment I wanted to make on this card. A lot of finishes. Multiple. I think there was only 1 fight on the main card that went to decision. Of course, including the main event, which is the main other fight we haven't discussed in this recap. Of course, Yandaroba getting the submission win against Lemos, and Lemos had done a good job scrambling in the first round. I think she still lost the round, but in the end, she wasn't like in super threat of getting submitted in the first round, and I feel like she started to kind of show her ability striking wise. But in the second round, it was just not the same. Verna had control time for days, and honestly, had her in a spot where it looked like she was going to get the rear naked, had her in a spot where she was going to put her in leg lock, and then all of a sudden she's in a spot to get her in an arm bar. So it's just crazy. Like Verna just was going for this, that, and the other thing submission wise. There was a moment where they both were going for leg locks against each other at the same time. It was kind of funny. That being said, Verna gets the win by armbar. And by proxy, that's a loss for both Jose and I. Thank goodness Bruno Silva came in for the clutch, because that kept me at a 2-2 record due to that not that fight that didn't even happen as our 4 weight. So moving on then to our picks this weekend. Jose's on a 10 win streak here for my 5 weights. And here at Moneyline MMA, we always start with our most confident picks of the afternoon. So that being said, of UFC 304, Jose and I are picking 5 fights and weighing them in order of confidence, with 5 being our most confident and 1 being our least confident. And we'll start with my 5-weight pick, my most confident pick of Saturday afternoon. I'm not taking the main or the co-main event here. I'm actually taking what's currently listed, I believe, is the opener. I'd have to double check. I want to say it's the opener to the main card. Arnold Allen. It's a featherweight bout between Arnold Allen and Giga Chikadze, in which I will be taking Arnold Allen to beat Giga. Arnold Allen's currently one of the bigger favorites on the main card, sitting right now at minus 260. Giga's plus 196. And I think, in all reality, the biggest threat from Giga is going to be his kicks and in his ability to stay at distance. He does have a size advantage that is somewhat considerable, and in a ring like the UFC Apex, it might not mean as much to me, but with the big octagon in England that you're going to get with the pay-per-view, Giga does have he does have the height at 6 feet, the reach at 74 inch, which is both 4 inches, if not more, bigger and longer than Arnold Allen, to kind of keep that distance. But it's not something he's been able to utilize his entire career. He lost to Calvin Kattar. He takes a break for like a year and a half, comes back and fights Alex Caceres, and only gets a decision win. It was unanimous, but it wasn't really like outstanding. There wasn't really anything in there to really scare me by any means. And we're talking about Arnold Allen here. I get he's coming off 2 losses, but he has beaten some of the better fighters in this division already. I love his fight against Calvin Kattar and Max Holloway. When you look at the stats, it looks like he got cleaned up. It looks like Max Holloway just diced him up, 2 times more strikes landed. But honestly, Arnold Allen, I thought, looked good in that fight compared to the fact that Max Holloway is one of the best of all time. I mean, we got to remember that. I do not think Giga Chikadze even gets close to going the distance with Max Holloway. I could be wrong, but that's 25 minutes too. That was a main event. That wasn't 3 rounds. So that's another thing too. I love the conditioning Arnold Allen has displayed, and I just feel like in general he's a better fighter standing and on the ground. So I'm going to take Arnold Allen here. I still lean over on the rounds. I would lean towards this being a decision win for Arnold Allen, to be specific, but he does have abilities to wrestle, to submit fighters, and to KO them. He has submission and KO finishes in his UFC career. So Arnold Allen to me is just way more dynamic and way more scary than Giga here. I get there's a height and reach discrepancy, but Jose, let's hear what you have to say on it.
Yeah, Nick. So for this one, I actually agree with you. I feel pretty strong about Arnold Allen. He has a home field advantage, and so that being said, I do like him, even though he's coming off those 2 losses. I think that he's still overall the better fighter than Giga Chikadze. I mean, even though Giga Chikadze has a more recent win, again, like you said, it's over Alex Caceres, and and he's not even a top 15 ranked fighter now. So he's going from an unranked fighter. Granted, Alex Caceres has been in the UFC for a while. He's a UFC vet, but he's not even in the top 15 right now. And Giga Chikadze is going from an unranked fighter now to number 6 in the rankings. And Arnold Allen, I mean, this guy, he's explosive, and I like him a lot. Like, he just sends the bullets away once he starts going. He's striking rate. He has a 3.39. He lands 3.39 significant strikes per minute, and he absorbs 2.91. And he does not have a reach advantage here. Giga Chikadze actually has a 4-inch reach advantage over Arnold Allen. So that means I do like it. I do like fighters with the longer reach advantage because normally they're obviously going to be the ones that I feel like is going to get the better end of the exchanges on the feet. And Giga Chikowski does have a 4.08. He lands 4.08 significant strikes per minute, but he also absorbs 3.44. So he does take some damage. And Arnold Allen, like I said, how he just blitzes away and just starts pushing forward. I think he may just try to bull rush Giga Chikowski, and that may be a good. That may be the times where he may tally up the points against Giga Chikowski. And ultimately, I don't know if he'll finish Giga Chikowski. He probably could, but I think he's most likely gonna take his way to unanimous decision in this one. So I think Arnold Allen is going to win predominantly on the feet. And when it comes to the takedown advantage, I think Arnold Allen may be the one to actually get a takedown before Giga Chikowski. And his takedown defense as well. If Giga tries to engage in the wrestling and try to take Arnold Allen down first, it's going to be tough. Arnold Allen has a 75% takedown defense, but that's not saying that Giga's easier to take down either. He has a 69% takedown defense, but I truly think Arnold Allen is going to be more explosive and push forward. He's going to get clipped a few times, but I think in the end, he's going to land more on Giga Chikowski and ultimately win by decision if he doesn't TKO him. So I feel pretty strong about Arnold Allen. He is my 4-weight.
Okay, bet. So we do agree then. Not quite the matching best bet 5 weights, but in all reality, that's very highly likely to be our best bet of the week with 9 combined weight confidence points. Arnold Allen is my 5-weight, and I've also wanted to point out he's never been finished, and I just think it's one of those situations where it's going to continue to push towards the end of the rounds. I think these guys take it easy, read each other in the first round. We see some hits here and there, but I really don't think either of these dudes are just going to absolutely be swinging for the fences unless they feel they're down 2 rounds in the third. And I do agree. I think it's proven in the books too. Arnold Allen is for sure the bigger wrestling and submission threat. And Giga's the one of these two men that has been finished inside the distance. It actually happened to be in Dana White's Contender Series. And he was able to work his way back to getting a UFC contract through fighting in another promotion after losing in the Contender Series by getting submitted. So it is all in all reality, though, one of those things where Arnold Allen would probably have to do a club and sub. I don't really see Arnold Allen like going for a textbook single leg and transitioning to the back or something like that, or transitioning to all these different kinds of potential arm bars or other chokes from the top that you could go for. But it could just be a club and sub situation or anything like that. That's what I think would be a lot more likely. And I think you would agree because you mentioned this fight being on the feet. So in the end, Arnold Allen and potentially by decision is a great side prop bet to take. And if you're even wanting to make it a little bit less dangerous, less risky, you could just add the double winning chance in there. Take Arnold Allen by points or KO because it is pretty unlikely that any submission happens here. I'd be comfortable enough myself in doing points or KO. So yeah, that being said, that's 9 confidence points. My 5-weight, Jose's 4-weight. We'll move on to Jose's most confident pick of Saturday
So
afternoon.
for my most confident pick, this is actually straight to the main event, for the welterweight strap between Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad. Right now, Leon Edwards, he is the betting favorite at minus 235. He's a big betting favorite, while Bilal Muhammad is a plus 180 underdog. And I definitely see a lot of value in Bilal Muhammad. He's been on a tear, but I truly think Leon Edwards is just overall technically better. And even though Bilal Muhammad's they rematched, and obviously, and this is a rematch, and their first fight in 2021 ended obviously in that accidental eye poke. That being said, Leon Edwards, he's always looked dominant in his fights. Besides that, like he has had a couple of like Jeff Neal got knocked out by Vicente Luque, but those were both a long time ago. That being said, he's truly always looked dominant and usually coasts his way to victory via unanimous decision. But against Leon Edwards, he even though it was a short notice fight too, Leon Edwards was piecing him up on the feet, and it looked like it was going to be a bad night for Bilal Muhammad. Like it actually looked like Bilal Muhammad was probably going to get finished at some point within the distance. So that's why I think it may be happening again. It may happen again. I think Leon Edwards is just overall better and a bigger guy, and the level of competition that Leon Edwards has been compared to Bilal Muhammad is just better. I mean, being Kamaru Usman twice, Kobe Covington, Nate Diaz, like will he almost got finished by Nate Diaz, to be honest, like kinda, and then he beat RDA as well, and that was when RDA was more on a tear at the welterweight division. Leon Edwards is just too technically sound. I don't see how Bilal Muhammad's going to bully Leon Edwards. Like the bully literally won't be able to bully. He's Leon Edwards is going to be the one pushing Bilal Muhammad back, and that's what happened in that fight when they fought the first time. Bilal Muhammad is usually the one pressing forward, but in the first fight he was actually stepping backwards. So I think Leon Edwards is probably just going to do that, clinch him up against the cage, and just try to get the control time and just keep piecing him up and sniping away at him. And eventually, if he doesn't finish Bilal Muhammad, obviously it's just going to be, I think, a unanimous decision for Leon Edwards. But I think Leon Edwards is good enough to put out Bilal Muhammad, because Bilal Muhammad too, he's getting this title fight because he does deserve it. He's been on a tear, but he beat Gilbert Burns, which Gilbert Burns is a monster, but he hasn't really been winning in a while now, and he's kind of small. Like if Leon Edwards fought Gilbert Burns, it'd be like, I think it'd be even a faster win than him versus Bilal Muhammad. And then he beats Sean Brady, who is still up and coming. Sean Brady is good, but he's still almost like an up and comer in this division. So ultimately, I think Leon Edwards, he's the better fighter, and people like to kind of give him crap for being like a boring fighter. But I think if it's either going to be boring and he wins, or he's going to just completely dominate Bilal Muhammad. Like I like Bilal because I do like Bilal though. Nothing against him. He is a local guy here. He's stopped by my gym a few times, and that being said, like I just think like just seeing how both fighters were when they fought each other the first time, and then versus how they've moved on since then, they both have looked dominant, but overall, I think Leon Edwards has just looked truly more dominant. And how they match up, before I pass it back to you, Nick, just um, Leon Edwards is 6 foot and Bilal Muhammad is 5'11". Leon Edwards has only a 2-inch reach advantage, but when like he just looks a lot bigger. Like you like just look back at them when they fought the first time. Bilal Muhammad just looks really thick, but Leon Edwards, like he just looks overall bigger. So I think that's just to me the level of experience Leon Edwards has already at the championship level, and his size is going to be a big advantage. And also just that sneak peek before the eye poke the first time. To me, that says a lot because Bilal Muhammad's always been so dominant, and then he runs into Leon Edwards and starts looking a little different. So that being said, this one I feel really strong with Leon Edwards, so he's a strong 5 for me. What are your thoughts on this fight, Nick?
Man, I love it, man. It's your 5 weight. You got a lot to say, and I love it, man. I do agree with Leon Edwards, and I'm a little less confident, man. 2 weight for me on Leon Edwards. I think Bilal is at least doing what he needs to put himself in a spot to win this fight. I do agree Leon Edwards is the better fighter here. Thing is, Bilal hasn't even utilized his wrestling. Like to beat Sean Brady and to beat Gilbert Burns, he doesn't land a single takedown in either one of those fights. And I honestly don't think he's going to look to take down Leon Edwards either, at all. I think he's going to try and keep this on the foot, but maybe I'm wrong because I'm hearing and seeing these reports he's posting about fight training with Khabib. He's like in Dagestan training with those dudes. So like, okay, so he's putting on this front that he is gonna wrestle and he's gonna just be going for your head like Khabib and those guys. And like, okay, I guess if he wants to do that, like go ahead, man. But like Kamaru Usman was a great wrestler too. I mean, I guess Kamaru's not necessarily the kind of guy to be a Dagestani wrestler, sure, but still one of the best, just known for his wrestling ability. In his first loss to Leon, when he gets head kick KO'd, he was winning that fight easily with 5 takedowns in that 5th round. He was taking down Leon once a round, and it was just what it needed to be. And even in their rematch, Kamaru took him down 4 times. And then he goes and fights Colby, and I guess Colby's kind of a shell of himself in that fight. I can't sit here and act like it was true Colby that we know. But in any case, Leon hasn't been affected by these wrestling guys that we've been kind of seeing. I will admit, I think Bilal here is the toughest challenge Leon's had as a champion, like kind of defending it. Maybe I'm wrong. I think Colby, like specifically Colby. Of course, Kamaru is one of the best of all time. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Colby. I just don't think Colby was anywhere near what we have known him to be. I think Bilal cleans Colby just as much too if they were to fight. So this is truly a contender match in my eyes, and Bilal Muhammad isn't going to be able to win it. Leon Edwards just much better on the feet, much better kickboxer. He's not going to be finished on the feet. That's for dang sure. What is Bilal going to sit here boxing for 25 minutes and get a decision win? I absolutely can't see that happening. There's no way you could convince me of that. So I just got to give it to Bilal if he does utilize that training with Khabib. That is really his best path to victory because he's been able to use wrestling in the past pretty nicely against guys like Vicente Luque and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson to get wins. I think if he utilizes that again, but implements more of a submission aspect to his game, he could really be dangerous. It's just a matter of how effective that training is, and that's kind of why he's down to my 2-weight level instead of my 4-weight level, but still like Leon Edwards here. But yeah, love that, man. So that covers both of our 5 weights. My 5 weight being Arnold Allen, your 4 weight being Arnold Allen, and then your 5 weight Leon, and my 2 weight Leon. Let's then move on to my 4 weight of Saturday afternoon, and we're gonna go straight, and we're gonna keep it up with the star power at the top end of this card. We're going to discuss the scam of a belt on the line for this card because the belt is already in possession by the greatest of all time. But this is a quote unquote belt, interim belt, quote unquote. I can't say it without the quotes because it's bogus to me. Tom Aspinall is fighting Curtis Blades, a heavyweight bout. Curtis Blades has coming off his win against Jailton, where he found Jailton in a weird spot against the fence, hit him with some hammer fists. It was weird. He got dominated in the first round and was able to get a goofy looking KO in the second round. The fight before that, getting KO'd by Pavlovich. See, Curtis Blades has not utilized his wrestling whatsoever in a long time. I came into this really thinking, like, please tell me I can give Curtis Blades a reason to win this fight. And I can't. I just can't. It's easy to me that Tom Aspinall is my 4 weight here. He's minus 430 on FanDuel, and I get it. Curtis Blades plus 300. I totally get it, man. These guys kind of fought. It's a quote-unquote rematch as well because Tom Aspinall blew out his knee right away. Excuse me. My throat's a little bit dry. But that being said, Tom Aspinall blows his knee out. That wasn't even a fight. So it's a quote-unquote rematch. Tom Aspinall's a better fighter here in all aspects of the game. Want to sit here and act like Curtis Blades can wrestle. Curtis Blades can do this and that. He hasn't taken someone down since he fought Yarzina Rozenstruik in 2021. I really don't see that happening. Curtis Blades is going to come in here thinking he can box with Aspinall. It's not going to happen. Simple as that. Really not much more to say. Tom Aspinall, 4-weight. What do you got, Jose?
Yeah, I agree with you. I have Tom Aspinall. He's my 4 weight as well. As you said, he's just overall the better, more athletic fighter here. And Curtis Blades, yeah, like he's not a good wrestler for the heavyweight division anymore. I think he kind of got exposed after he got knocked out by Derek Lewis. He went down and Derek Lewis timed it quite right, and it's because Curtis Blades' technique actually isn't. It's good because the big boys really don't wrestle that much. They just are more like throw heavy punches and. But that being said, he got exposed by Derek Lewis by his technique. He drops down and he like almost like he's squatting, and so he would do it to try to avoid punches. But Derek Lewis was able to time it, and when Curtis Blades dropped down, that's when Derek Lewis hit him with the uppercut, just connected like that, and that's why he went out. And that being said, I think since then he's probably been a little more cautious about it because a lot of people did talk about his how people in the past, I think Derek Lewis mentioned in the post fight, somewhere he mentioned that like a lot of fighters they just not realize that like he's not pushing forward, he's not going forward for the takedown. He's where he's at, stationary, and just drops and goes for your legs. So any good top level striker will be able to recognize that and catch him with it. And if not an uppercut, a knee, which would probably hurt a lot more and definitely put his lights out still. And that being said, they both have Sergey Pavlovich as a common opponent, and yeah, obviously Tom Aspinall finished Sergey like quick like that for the interim belt. And I do agree with you. This is a bogus belt because it really is just a number one contender spot for John Jones. So interim really, it being a belt really means nothing. But that being said, And the thing about Curtis Blades too, he's been in the UFC for a while now, and he just as been getting older, he obviously just got this win, but against that win against Jan Almeida, as you mentioned, was kind of also bogus because Jan Almeida just did not let go. And that being said, he's just really looking like he's aged throughout his UFC career, like just the way he's performing. He's definitely not going for the takedowns as much as he used to, and again because he's been exposed. But I don't think he's as fast either. I think Tom Aspinall is just going to clip him up and beat him unanimously. But I think most likely because it's the heavyweight division, more than likely TKO slash KO within the 2.5 rounds. So that being, and obviously this is gonna be a 5-round fight, but I think he's gonna get it within 2.5 rounds. Because Tom Aspinall is just a beast, athletic, and he's not much younger, but he's the younger guy, and he's not the bigger guy. But I just think overall he's the better fighter. So I feel really good about Tom Aspinall. He's my 3-weight. Sorry, I said 4-weight. He's my 3-weight.
Okay, I was
Arnold
gonna
Allen is my
ask about
4-weight.
that, and I was like looking at
Sorry.
my thing, and I was like, yeah, 3-weight, right? Okay, cool.
Sorry, he's my 3-weight. You're 4-weight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Cool. Yeah, so we do agree, and the only reason Tom Aspinall's not my 5-weight, really, the only reason is because it's heavyweights, man. Things happen. We saw what happened in their first fight. A big strong kick can tear up your knee so fast if it's checked, and that counts as a loss for Aspinall. That doesn't count as a no contest. It's a loss. And I'm not willing to completely risk everything as far as my best bet streak and all of that goes on that kind of situation with heavyweights. I avoid betting on heavyweights, especially with high confidence, unless there's very obvious differences or someone like John Jones is in the ring, because otherwise it's just a risky affair pretty much every time. So that's why you see me picking Arnold Allen instead at my 5-weight, but it's really similar, if not the same amount of confidence that these guys will get it done. So yeah, we move on to Jose's 2-weight then. I think we cover your 5, 4, and 3. We'll go to his 2-weight.
Yeah, so my 2-weight, this is the lightweight bout between Bobby Green, or King Green now, versus Paddy Pimblett. And right now, Paddy is the betting he's the betting underdog at -104, while
Yes, sir.
Bobby Green is the betting favorite at -122. You know, this one, I like Patty. I mean, obviously I like Patty, so I'm gonna go with Patty. That's what I'm gonna say. And obviously, it being my 2-weight, it shows just the level of confidence I have in Patty in this fight. I think there's value in him being a slight underdog, so that's why I'm also going with him. He goes away, and I truly think this is a winnable fight for him. Bobby Green is good and extremely experienced, but I think Patty is going to do what he does, and he's just going to bull rush Bobby Green and just try to knock him out. I honestly think he's going to try to knock him out as soon as possible. But the thing is, will Patty get tired? I don't know. I saw photos of Patty recently, and he looks like he's actually in the best shape he's been thus far in his UFC career. He looks really ripped. He looks game ready, which he needs to be now that he's going to be fighting higher ranked opponents moving forward. And that being said, Patty's grappling too, it's not bad at all. So actually, out of his 21 wins, he has 9 submissions. I actually think in this one against Bobby Green, even though Bobby Green has been submitted twice, I think Paddy Pimblett may actually be live to get a submission. And Bobby Green, he doesn't have the best chin, obviously. He got knocked out by Jalen Turner in the first round back in December. So Paddy Pimblett, I don't know if he's gonna he can put Bobby Green out, but I think overall in the end, it's either he's gonna win by decision, or I think he may sink in a submission, because I think when the grappling comes together, Bobby Green's got good grappling. He has 9 submissions himself, but I think in this one, I think Paddy Pimblett is going to be showing like a new level for sure. So I think that being said, I feel confident with I slightly feel confident with Paddy Pimblett. The thing is, Bobby Green that has over him is just the experience, but he doesn't have the chin anymore for sure. He doesn't have the chin. So that being said, I'm going with Paddy Pimblett. What are your thoughts on this fight, Nick?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on Patty here. I'm expecting to see still an evolution from Patty. He is 29 years old. We haven't seen him fight. It feels like a long time since he fought Tony Ferguson, and it's only been like 7 or 8 months. It's really not been that long, but he was able to beat Tony Ferguson by decision. I think we're going to continue to see, like I said, at least I hope, what I'm picking Paddy Pimblett here for as my 3-weight So he's your 2 weight, my 3 weight actually. I'm slightly more confident in Patty, uh, just because, like I said, I think we're going to see an evolution from him. I expect him to get on Bobby Green's back and win every round in which he does. I don't think Bobby Green's going to get up. I think if Patty gets him down, that round is written off essentially. I think King Green is good, and certainly possesses a boxing advantage. I'm not convinced that we have like a KO or power advantage. I think neither of these guys are a real KO threat in my opinion. Neither one of them, but Patty is by far the better submission threat, and I think he utilizes that. I think he goes and takes Bobby Green's back, finishes the fight within the 3 rounds, if I had to guess. But I wouldn't be putting too much specifically on that bet. Obviously, his last 2 fights have gone to decision, and in some cases against Jared Gordon specifically, he got taken down, and most of the people will argue and say he lost that fight. So, whatever side you're on, Paddy Pimblett doesn't always, even when you think he might, go for someone's back, this and that. So I would definitely be confident in saying Paddy by submission or points. I highly doubt he gets a KO here. I highly doubt either dude gets a KO. But to me, it makes the most sense to take Paddy by submission or points.
I definitely agree with you. And when it's, because it's such a close, the margin's so close on the money line with these guys. And Bobby Green, Patty Pimblett also has submissions just more recently over on his record. Bobby Green has that submission against Tony Ferguson, but that fight was basically going to be won via unanimous decision. He just got it in kind of last minute, and Tony literally went out with like seconds left of the fight. So I definitely think, yeah, I feel more confident. Like I did say, like, Patty may try to bull rush to something similar like Arnold Allen and just try to throw a bunch of punches. And, Patty has a tendency to sometimes leave his chin open. But I do think he's probably going to be more of a submission threat in this fight too. And as you said, he is showing an evolution of his game. That fight over Tony Ferguson, that was actually probably one of Tony Ferguson's worst looking fights. Like I think Patty really probably put like one of the worst beatings on him, other than Gaethje. So that being said, yeah, I got Patty Pimblett, but Green is still lethal and dangerous after getting knocked out by Jalen Turner. Comes back and gets a 3rd round win over Jim Miller. Of course, Jim Miller, he's also aged as well. But that being said, he was able to bounce back from that first round KO. So him being the vet still puts him as a lethal threat against Patty Pimblett. But that being said, yeah, I'm happy with Patty Pimblett being my 2-weight.
Well, dude, on top of that, how about getting the home field advantage? That crowd is going to be nuts. That crowd is going to be nuts.
They're gonna be singing, what was Patty?
Oh, Patty the Batty. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's almost like the White Stripes song, but they just say, "Oh, Patty the Batty."
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah. That home field crowd too is gonna be different for sure. Definitely, like for him being the home having the home field advantage. I'm sure he's gonna feel just much more like electrified in it.
Of course, same with Aspinall. So there's a little bit of a theme here as we're taking on the home field fighters.
Yeah, we
Every
are.
single one. Wait,
Well,
no,
yeah,
hold up.
yeah.
Every single one.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, you're right. At least my 2 through 5 have all finished. So
Yo, I mean we aren't finished yet, because we do have one more fight to cover, but that does make this interesting because that being said, I of course am taking another guy on home field, Mohamed Mokaev. Yes, sir. He's the main prelim fight. I'm avoiding Christian Leroy Duncan and Gregory Rodriguez, the RoboCop fight. That one's too hard to put a weight on. So I'm looking into the prelims here, and I gotta say, I'm tossing up. So I also have to name one other fight that I have to say because I will have money on this. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say it at least. But Molly McCann is also fighting Bruna Burcell. I'm telling you right now, Molly McCann's gonna finish that. Molly McCann inside the distance, put it down. Just a little side bet. Don't parlay that with nothing. That's crazy. Molly McCann will finish Bruna Burcell. That's crazy. She's gonna knock her out, spinning elbow, something crazy. Get out of here. Molly McCann's crazy. She's gonna walk in here. The crowd's gonna be going nuts. It's wild. And she's just like said. She's known for saying, like I don't face off with my opponents because it's me versus me, not me versus you. And I'm just like, what the? She's crazy. She's a wild woman. She will go in there and throw knees and elbows until the other girl's down. I'd love to see that. But I will be taking Muhammad Mokaev for my one weight officially. Fighting Manel Kopp is the main event of the prelims, and this one was still kind of tough for me. I like Manel Kopp, and I actually was going into this expecting myself to take Manel Kopp, but in reality, this is just a wrestler versus striker matchup. And in my opinion, the more I watch UFC and in the fight game of MMA in general, I just feel like in general the wrestlers do a great job of succeeding. Now, of course, if you're like Hoist Gracie, or I shouldn't even say Hoist Gracie because that's kind of disrespecting his name, but there's been other Gracies that come through the UFC, just lay on their back and hope guys get in their clinch. It's not a viable technique. Muhammad Mokaev chain wrestles. He goes for takedown after takedown after takedown, and he does not stop. And in most cases, it works. He has struggled, and when he has struggled, it's been against pretty seasoned and grizzled veterans. Of course, I'm thinking of Alex Perez was one man that he seemed to be have a difficult time, especially keeping on the ground. Alex Perez did a great job of getting up. Or getting his own control time in that fight. But Mokaev also kind of looked like he gassed out. And he had claimed that it was a staph infection or something. I can't remember exactly if it was staph or if it was something else. But he claimed there was like an illness that he had that had led to him running out of gas. So if you think he's lying, if you think he's disagreeing, then don't ride with me on this one. But I think Mokaev's going to go in there with plenty of conditioning. I think he's still going to be by far alive to just take down Manel Kopp and do similar to what I think Patty's going to do to King Green. And just take him down and either get the submission or ride on him and get the win via decision with control time and just controlling the fight in general, keeping it at his pace. Manel Kopp's really only path to victory, if you ask me, is a KO. He does have some good power as he's gotten 2 KOs in the UFC specifically. But at least those were now 3 years ago. 2.5, 3 years ago. It's been a while since Manel Kopp's had success getting a KO. I don't see it happening here against Mokaev, who's undefeated in his professional career, having fought some decent names, nothing crazy, but Manel Kopp and Alex Perez are like, Manel Kopp's not some huge step up in competition. I'd argue the opposite for Manel. Coming off fighting Felipe dos Santos, that's a good fight, but he's also a UFC rookie. Muhammad Mokaev's now starting to get some good experience in the UFC. This is going to be his 7th fight. I just feel like Manel Kopp's got way bigger of a step up in competition. These guys are both young, I get it, but Mokaev to me secures the win. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, Nick, I agree with you. Muhammad Mokaev is actually my one weight as well. And the thing is you said it best. If Manel Kopp's going to win, it's going to have to be via KO TKO. And as you mentioned, wrestlers in general do a good job of just asserting their game plan and taking someone down right away. Perfect prime example, Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland. That was going to be a better fight and immediately takes him down. John Jones versus Cyril Gane. Like, didn't even really bother, just takes him down right away. So, and that's the thing about these fighters too. Like they these wrestlers, I mean, they're good wrestling and they may not be the fastest strikers, but their MMA style is geared towards be able to encounter fast strikers, like better strikers in general. They train for that. They're not going to throw the punches back, but they're going to know how to close the distance and avoid getting hit and just have proper striking defense. So being young, and he's 23 years old, I believe. Yeah, he's 23 years old and 12-0. Dude's young. He's got a lot of potential. And as you mentioned, the Alex Perez fight, he claimed to have staph and affected his cardio. So I'm definitely expecting him to be just overall better this fight because of that. And Manel Kopp's, even though it says that he has a 77 takedown defense, I think he's going to be probably easier to take down and hold down than Alex Perez. So I see Muhammad Mokaev winning this unanimous decision, overall control time, ground and pound, and And yeah, that's essentially it. Is the way I see him getting path to victory. He's also the slightly bigger guy in this matchup. He's 5'7". Manal Kape is 5'5", and Muhammad Mokaev has a 2-inch reach advantage. So even though he sports a 1.53, he lands 1.53 significant strikes per minute. I think he's still going to clip Manal Kape every once in a while. Manal Kape, obviously being the better striker, he lands 5.12 significant strikes per minute, but he does absorb 4.51 significant strikes per minute, while Mokaev 1.36. So even though Manal Kape does throw a high volume of punches, he still gets clipped quite a bit. And I think Muhammad Mokaev on the feet, I think he's going to, with his long reach advantage, I think he's still going to be able to clip Manal Kape at least a few times to definitely hurt him, stun him, and then take him down and do what he wants to him on the ground. So that being said, I feel I actually probably should have moved Muhammad up to my 2-weight at least, but Manal Kape, again, being extremely dangerous, I definitely see value in him as an underdog, because if he decides, if he proves us wrong and is hard to take down and keeps getting up, he can start beating Mokaev on the feet and either get a TKO himself or unanimous decision. So but that being said, overall, I agree with you on Muhammad Mokaev. I think wrestling is going to be the major theme of this fight and is going to be his path to victory. So I got Muhammad Mokaev just like yourself as my 1-weight.
For sure. For sure, wrestling will be a theme of that fight, and will Kape be able to catch him with an uppercut, a knee, or something, some sort of switch up on one of those wrestling attempts. But in all reality, I don't see that happening. And that'll close it for us, man. All 5 picks and 1 pick on the main, 4 picks on the main card, 1 on the prelims. All of our picks on today's show actually siding with the home field fighters, whether that's Leon Edwards, Tom Aspinall, Paddy Pimblett, Arnold Allen, or Muhammad Mokaev. Jose and I agree on various weight amounts. The lock of the week is going to be, looks like Arnold Allen, 9 total confidence points. Arnold Allen, he's fighting Giga Chikadze as the opener to the main card. It's going to be a banger. And otherwise, if you're looking to do some sort of parlay, you maybe just look to do Jose and I's most confident picks individually, or you could do if you're trying to ride with my picks, you can also ride with Aspinall plus Arnold Allen, since those are my 5 and 4 weights combined. Of course, Jose had Leon Edwards, so you could take Arnold Allen and Leon Edwards combined as well. But that being said, I would leave Muhammad Mokaev out of parlays just because. And a final note on that, his odds are minus 146, which I like. That's a part of the reason I'd keep him out of the parlays, because I think there's value to be found is his single bets on that fight. And just the fact that Manal Kape does have the power to get a KO. Like, that's a real possibility. And I just don't want to have too much on the line in a parlay if that does happen. So that's just my personal opinion. Keep it to a 2-3 leg parlay at tops, unless you just want to put like 50 cents on a parlay where you're betting like every fight on the card or something. But yeah, that being said, appreciate everybody for tuning in here to this week's episode of Moneyline MMA. We will be back next week at the same time, about 5:30 Central Time. The UFC's bringing us some good cards now coming up. I'm excited to say we don't have to sit here and continue to watch average fight nights after this pay-per-view, because next week, a week from Saturday's pay-per-view event, we are going to have our event in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi. It'll be a daytime card, headlined by Corey Sanhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. And then after that, we're going to see Marcin Tybura fight Sergey Spivak. And then after that, we're getting 305. Izzy, baby. I can't wait to see him come back. But of course, we'll be live for all of those cards. Those are consecutive cards. We do not have a week off for a while now, at least going into September. So that being said, tune in, subscribe, let us know down below who you'll be picking, and catch us next week.